Good morning to everybody. Today is the 7th of June, 2025. All praise be to the Most High God. The Most High God comes first. I am Christ. I am disciple. You're watching my channel. This channel is brought to you by L.I.V.E products. L.I.V.E, live now. We're alive now. You can contact us if you live in the Trinidad and Tobago area. We have an array of products from cleaning products to foodstuffs, snacks, drinks, and punches. L-I-V-E, live now. We're alive now. In front of you, you're looking at what I think WB looks like right now. I'll be honest with you. This is what WB looks like, and this is their Superman to me that they're presenting to the world. Okay? And yes, once upon a time, WB was known for Looney Tunes, But I mean, they're taking this thing now to a real ridiculous conclusion. They're saying that they're going to make. They got a film that's going to gross, over $700 million or $1 billion or 500 and something million dollars, whatever. They take a comedian and ask him to make a movie, and they choose one of the most iconic characters of DC, and they tell him, here, make a movie with this iconic character. All right? And everything that is happening contradicts not just what the fans trying to defend this director are saying, but it also contradicts. But apparently this guy he understands comic books. And he is the greatest at adapting these comic book characters to the big screen. Bear in mind, his solo success as a director in cinema, solo, has been a set of movies known as Guardians of the Galaxy. That's it. This guy has no directorial success at anything else on the big screen. And they say this guy, he really has great understanding of comic book characters. The guy admits he's not familiar with Superman lore like that. Okay? He's trying to find the most obscure characters to use in a Superman film. You know why? You know why he's doing that? Because he wants to make sure people don't know the lore behind those characters. So he can do whatever he wants with them. And everybody's buying it. Well, in the studio, that is. DC fans are not buying it. The DC audience is not buying it. In fact, they're not interested in it. And the studio keeps on manufacturing this supposed enthusiasm about this movie. And they continue to lie about the budget of the movie, about the excitement for the movie. They continue to lie. And this is nothing new. People with power try to use their power to influence other people's minds. And I can't wait The blowback is so going to be so fucking epic. I can't wait. Oh, it's coming. It's coming. They can't avoid it. It's coming. The charade, the bots, the WB shills. This is a bad comedy drama playing out in front of us. A very bad one. Oh, I can't wait for the blowback. I can't wait. I can't wait. Believe you me, the gloves are off on this one. Every single thing this atrocious studio did to Zack Snyder, James Gunn's doing to them. You hate Zack Snyder. You don't want to do nothing with that. You wouldn't let him continue his Snyderverse. Well, this is what you get. This is what you get. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. It's one thing to play Looney Tunes on TV, on film. It's another thing to play Looney Tunes in real life. You know, that doesn't happen in real life. You try that nonsense in real life, you get hurt real bad. I can't wait. Telling y'all right now, can't wait. The studio, time and time again, has done some of the dumbest things we've ever seen the studio do. It doubled down. After Birds of Prey and Wonder Woman flopped, it doubled down. Hired another Marvel director. Got another flop with the Suicide Squad. Doubled down. Did Black Adam. Got that to flop. Doubled down. Hired James Gunn as CEO. Everything flopped. And since then, nothing. Not a single DC film. And yet, these people continue to support James Gunn. Never thought, you know what? You shut down Superman and Lewis. You shut down you shut down the DC animated films. I'm making way for James Gunn's comedy. You know the guy's a comedian. You cheered on the very few fans out there, probably shills of your company. Back your whole executive style, most of whom should be fired. We're going to turn Superman into a comedy. Christopher Reeve style. People are going to love it. We're targeted to children. Well, how's that working out for you? take a man has no experience, save Guardians of the Galaxies, in directing comic book movies. He's only done one particular signature style. You're fired. A guy handpicked by Christopher Nolan, who is known for doing comic book movies. Known for doing it. From 300 to Watchmen to Dawn of the Dead. Okay? This guy be doing comic book movies. That's what he does. You fired him. Want to be like Marvel so much. That's the only guy that's given you success in your previous universe. That guy and what he kind of earmarked, his vision. Any movie associated with his vision. Even the Studio Squad. Even that did well. Once you associated with Zack Snyder, Aquaman solely on the basis of Jason Momoa siding with Release the Snyder Cut movement is why Aquaman did so well. Solely. I can't even say James Wan. Because James Wan did the second movie. Momoa wasn't siding with the Release anything, Restore the Snyderverse movement. And the movie flopped. It flopped. WB just does not know how to treat people who produce for them. Look what they did to Todd Phillips. Todd Phillips said this is a one and done movie. They threw money at him. No, do another one. Todd said this is a one and done movie. The executives flexed their power. Todd went and did a sequel. Flopped. Moral of the story. Competent creatives. Let me tell you the mistakes WB has made over the years. They want to tell us, look up. WB, you need to look up your fucking history. That's what you need to do. Look it up. Dumbasses. The executives know nothing about filmmaking. Leave that to the creatives. Christopher Nolan knew what he was saying and doing when he recommended Zack Snyder. Why do you think you know better? WB has continually tried to market a movie for families. They've been trying to do this since Superman 1979. But they continuously fire the people, the creatives, who give them something different. They listen to the complaints of the few. When a creator gives you something innovative, different, and the audience likes it, you're a damn fool to try to change that. When you are an executive and you try to tell people what comic book movies should be, you're not staying in your lane. Stay in your damn lane. If you haven't read extensively comic books, why are you opening your mouth on anything about a comic book movie? Then you go and give people who have no business doing particular characters in comic book movies. James Gunn was a Toby Emmerich pick for Superman. And Toby Emmerich has no business, none, having James Gunn do Superman. None. I believe in the background suggested by Jeff Johns. Jeff Johns has no business advising anyone on how to make a movie. Why do these people not stay in their lane? You're good, Jeff Johns, at writing comic books. You write comic books. You don't see Frank Miller dictating to people who are making his movies. You don't see him telling people what to do because he's a comic book writer, not a director, not a producer. He's a comic book writer. Jeff Johns didn't know how to stay in his lane. Diane Lane, she knew how to stay in her lane. Jim Lee, he knows how to stay in his lane. Todd McFarlane, who makes toys, knows how to stay in his lane. You got to know how to stay in your lane. You can be a great comic book writer, but guess what? You're a horrible producer, executive, and sure as hell you're not a writer for movies, and you're not a director. I'm not going to curse. Stay in your lane. This is costuming. We're just talking about costuming. This is Hawk Girl from DC Legends of Tomorrow. Here she is again. That's a TV show. Okay? This is Hawk Girl from James Gunn, Superman. Same cheap design, same helmet. This is a $363 million film. From the budget. And I know they're putting out extra money on advertising to try and get it to go. When all said and done, for that film to break even, it had to cross $900 million. Now, do you know how impossible that is to happen? First movie in the new DC universe launching out. And you got to make close to $1 billion. Do you know how improbable that is? Zabs off through everything in that movie. The kitchen sink in terms of resources and whatever. Whatever James Gunn wanted, he got. They have changed up the movie multiple times. Something DC is guilty of. I know Marvel is a standard thing in Marvel. But in DC, it's disastrous to change up a movie multiple times. It never holds well for DC. Works with Marvel, though. Now, this studio has treated DC as if it's Marvel. And the results have continuously been disastrous. And because you're trying to get a family demographic and you're closed-minded to anything else, mind you, had Warner Brothers continued the Snyderverse, they would have gotten what they wanted. Movies with a family demographic. I'll tell you why. As they finished that successful stint of Justice League 2 and 3, the Superman movie that the fans wanted, the Batman movies that the fans wanted, they could have put out shit like the movies they're putting out now. Fans would have gone and seen it. You know why? I'll tell you, they couldn't repeatedly put out shit. They'd have had fans and their families coming out. I'll tell you why. There would have been confidence in the studio. See, the difference between MCU and the DCU or DC and MCU is DC fans have no fucking confidence in that studio. We have no confidence in it. It makes the worst decisions ever. And it has a history of doing that. And the problem is not the creatives. The problem is not James Gunn. And you'll never see me, you hear me talk about James Gunn as a clown, but that's what he is. He's a clown. James Gunn is a comedian. Okay? He makes tasteless jokes, but he's a comedian. Okay? Bryan Singer wasn't a comedian. Joss Whedon had comedy in his movies, but he wasn't a comedian. James Gunn is a comedian. That's what he is. That's what he does. He makes jokes. Okay? So, yes, James Gunn to me is a superhero clown. Shout out to Hugo T. Saraiva, or Saraiva, whatever it is. Okay? He's a super clown. That's what he does. He's funny. That's what he does. His jokes don't land on me, but he's funny. That's what he does. Okay? So you take a super clown, impose him onto Superman, and that's the movie you're going to get. Look it up. This isn't rocket science, ladies and gentlemen. You're not going to get some master Shakespearean piece from this guy. You're not going to get it. He's going to be raw. He's going to be raunchy. He's going to be, edgy. That's James Gunn. He showed you what he was. And that's the kind of movie you're going to get. No matter how much Warner Brothers tries to sanitize it or whatever. And listen, the worst thing Warner Brothers could have done is have Gunn change up his movie to try to make it like what they want it to be. Because you're not a creative. It might have well let James Gunn die on his mountain, doing the most gunniest shit he ever did. Just like with Snyder. They let Snyder just be Snyder. Let him be Snyder. Because when they're more authentic to what they really are, you get a more authentic movie. And it will do better than if you have them change this and change that. Suddenly they're taking notes from this one, taking notes from that one. And the movie becomes diluted down and then it becomes a big blob of mess. That's what happened to Andy Muschietti. The Flash was just a big old ball of mess. And this movie's a mess, and we know it. I wouldn't be speaking like this so boldly if I didn't know what it is. You're taking elements, you're taking cinematographers, you're taking people who are oversee animation, and you're bringing those people to this movie from the last flop movie. Why would you do something like that? I thought James Gunn was supposed to start afresh. Then you have continuity with the last universe, but your selected characters are the ones that continue. It's just a lot. It's just a mess. And I'm not saying this. I'm not saying this to. That's why I'm not particularly focused on James Gunn. I'm not focused on him. I'll focus on the clueless fucking executives who keep on destroying the brand that is called DC. They ultimately have the final say on things. Okay? And they're doing a horrible job of DC right now. Movies this is how many times has this happened? We had Wonder Woman, which was directed by Patty Jenkins. Second coordination stunt unit was Zack Snyder's guy, was working with them. Zach did the story, and Patty reshaped it with a bunch of other people, including Jeff Johns. That movie was so successful, it was groundbreaking as a movie. Never mind, Gal Gadot was the one who was playing Wonder Woman, and right now I don't want to ever see her wear that costume ever again. It was a groundbreaking movie. Okay? We come to the sequel, and Zach's nowhere in the picture. Patty Jenkins is saying, "Oh, I want to show people what my movie would look like." And that movie flopped. I mean, that movie didn't even get out of the gates. It flopped on impact. We had the successful David Ayer's Studio Squad, which was not really David's movie, but nonetheless, it was successful. The sequel to that, which is James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, flopped. The studio took a success and made it a failure. How do you do that? Joker, groundbreaking rated R movie, breaks all records. Okay? It was at the time the highest grossing rated R movie. Todd Phillips got hell to make that movie. They were supposed to supply funds to him and stuff, and Toby Emmerich was giving him all kinds of hell. Walter Amato was giving him all kinds. In spite of all of that, they came through with this groundbreaking movie, Joker. I went to see it. Great movie. And won so many Academy Awards, all kinds of things. Warner Brothers decides, Todd Phillips says this is one and done. Joaquin Phoenix, no, you need to make a sequel. You're giving money to make a sequel, it flops. Some movies don't need a sequel, ladies and gentlemen. And when the director says this is one and done, please don't try to get them to do otherwise. Christopher Nolan's probably one of the best directors out there, because when he says, I'm done, no trilogy, I'm done. After the trilogy, I'm done. He meant it, and he stuck to that. And he supplied somebody who could continue and make a universe with him. You have to stick to your guns on certain things, ladies and gentlemen. Patty Jenkins had to fight over the No Man's Land scene for Wonder Woman. Why are directors having a hard time with these fucking executives? Zack Snyder's Batman v Superman cut down by 30 minutes. They're shaving down. And again, I do not blame James Gunn for this. They're shaving down James Gunn's movie to under 2 hours. This is a studio problem. First of all, why the fuck did you hire James Gunn to lead DC? A studio problem. This is not James Gunn problem. Yes, he's a lying, conniving son of a bitch and all the bad things, but you cannot blame James Gunn for becoming head of DC. They put him there. Why would you take somebody who has very little experience directing movies that are in line with DC? In fact, this guy had zero experience with DC before he did the Suicide Squad. And he showed you the most gunniest movie ever, the Suicide Squad. He showed you he was not up to the task. Why would you put him as the head of DC? Why would you do something stupid like that? I don't understand. It boggles all our minds. So you cannot blame James Gunn. I don't care how much he lies and all of that. You can't blame him for what is happening now. This is management. And don't get me wrong, James Gunn is the most atrocious guy I've ever met. But the problem It isn't James Gunn. It's the people who hired him. It's the people who decided this is where we want to go. And this is nothing new. Joel Schumacher. Let's go through it. Let's go through it a little bit because I want to cook a little bit on this. Joel Schumacher was royally fucked in Batman and Robin. Joel Schumacher came in and replaced Tim Burton. Tim Burton made two very successful Batman movies. He made Batman 1989, revolutionary movie. You listen to what I'm saying because this is very important. First, we had what's his name? I'm trying to remember the guy's name right now. Christopher Reeve's director. For some reason, I just drew a blank. But Christopher Reeve's director made Superman movie. Revolutionary movie. Did you hear what I said? Revolutionary movie. Okay? Richard Donner. Dick Donner. He came in, made a revolutionary movie. They fired him the next movie. I'm not saying Warner Brothers was the one that fired him, but nonetheless, he got fired. Okay? Why do you do that to people who have contributed so significantly to the art form, to the genre? Why would you do something like that? Okay. Then Tim Burton comes. Tim Burton does the first Batman, revolutionizes everything. From here, we get the signature words, I'm Batman, tell your friends about me, right? Signature stuff. Things that, all these other Batman movies, they take off of. The dark side of Batman and all that. Yeah, Frank Miller brought it to the comic books, but Tim Burton brought it to the big screen. Okay? Batman was not seen on the big screen or any screen in this sort of way. Never. Not even in animation. Tim Burton brought the brooding Dark Knight version of Batman. Revolutionary. What do? You what? You fire Tim Burton? After the second Batman movie? Yes, it's darker. Yes, parents may complain. But man, you have an audience here. People are dying to see the next Batman movie by Tim Burton. Because he opened, or I saw it as a teenager. And I'm telling you right now, that thing's still etched in my mind. And Michael Keaton's up there as Batman, regardless of what happened in The Flash. He's still up there as Batman. Why? He did the most killing, but for Batman disregard, he killed a lot of people and so on. But the quintessential parts of Batman. And guess what? Tim Burton's Batman. James Gunn doesn't like Tim Burton's Batman. He hates Tim Burton's Batman. And he goes on a rant of how it's such a horrible Batman. Right? You know who James Gunn praises? George Clooney Batman. He doesn't even praise Val Kilmer's Batman. George Clooney's Batman is his Batman. The Batman of the movie that flopped and flopped hard, and we didn't get a Batman movie until 2005. So from 1998 to 2005, 7 years, we hadn't had a Batman movie because of George Clooney's Batman. Because of what the studio did to Joel Schumacher. Making him produce a movie was shit. Because WB wanted to sell toys. So we have Superman sequels. Superman 3 and 4 flopped. We had Superman Returns that flopped. We had the Batman and Robin that flopped. We had sequels to Suicide Squad that flopped. Sequels to Wonder Woman that flopped. Right? We had Justice League that was tampered with, Zack Snyder's Justice League, that flopped. Okay? We had the sequel to Joker that flopped. What fucking studio you know that will make a sequel to a movie that was extremely successful, that flops really hard. Like, I mean, it don't even get out the gate. It don't even get past its budget. Flop. So I'm going to say it again. The problem is not the creators. If you have a creator that you hired to do a certain job, and then you have no confidence in that creator, and so you start to change up that creator's stuff as the creator's doing what he's doing, then it's your fault. Why do you hire the creator in the first place? Rick Famuyiwa was supposed to do, the guy who did Dope, he was supposed to do the Flash movie. What did they do? They said, you know what? We don't need your services after you put up a thing. And they moved him out. That's fair. If you know that you can't work with this guy because you know you will want to change up things for the Flash movie, then you say, okay, bye. Okay? All right. Patty Jenkins was sold on doing Wonder Woman because when she met Zack Snyder, she realizes that his ideals and her ideals overlapped. That's why she did Wonder Woman. Creative control is important in making movies because I know the thrust in movies is to make people brain dead and to brainwash them. I get it. Marvel's successful at doing that, at least the MCU. However, when it comes to DC's always pushed the boundaries on how far they could take the characters in terms of evolution. You look at all the directors that have been successful in DC. Let's look at them. We have Richard Donner, Tim Burton, the director of Swamp Thing. We had Christopher Nolan, Zack Snyder. We are plus and minus with Patty Jenkins, plus and minus with David Ayer, and then we have James Wan. And then for a brief moment in time, with Shazam, though not as successful as the others, we had the director of Shazam. All right? That's another sequel that flopped. Shazam was a sequel. The sequel of Shazam flopped. Okay? Now, let's not forget the Flash came after Zack Snyder's Justice League had put Ezra Miller's Flash on display for the whole world to see when he reversed time. So Zack had set up the Flash to be successful, right? And Andy Muschietti had the idea of, pulling off of that energy to make the Flash successful. Here's the problem. It was sabotaged because of Walter Hamada, Jeff Johns, not passing the torch to Black Adam. See, though James Gunn's The Suicide Squad failed after Zack Snyder's Justice League, there was the opportunity to connect Zack Snyder's Snyderverse to Black Adam. There was that opportunity. And that opportunity was squandered. You brought back Henry Cavill. Why didn't you make Black Adam continuous with Zack Snyder? Just put him in the black suit, play Hans Zimmer's theme. Why didn't you do that? Why? We would have ignored all the other shit that you said about, the leader of Gondark and 5,000 years ago. We know 5,000 years ago there was a big war and all that. There was a lot of lack of continuity in there. But no, they wanted Black Adam to replace Zack Snyder's Justice League. They wanted Black Adam's universe to replace the Snyderverse. Stupid studio. Zack Snyder's Justice League came out. I'm going to recall this stuff to you guys. I don't care. I'm recalling it. Hold on one second. Let's see something here. What the fuck is going on? Oh, okay. 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 The fucking hell is going on? Am I live or I'm not live? I'm live. Somebody's looking at my stuff. That would be me. Okay. Okay, I'm live. I'm live. Okay. Just check it. Okay, so yeah. What I was saying was I was saying that Zack Snyder's Justice League, I think YouTube is behaving really weird, so that may be part of it. Yeah. But Zack Snyder's Justice League anyway. Um they had the opportunity. Oh, there are several balls they dropped, right? But Zack Snyder's Justice League came out. They should have put it in theaters. They did not do that. Just stupid. These dumb clowns had the audacity to say that Justice League 2017 is canon. So immediately the studio's telling you, it's a studio that's telling you, maybe The Rock probably wanted to link up Zack Snyder's Justice League with Black Adam, but I'm pretty sure Walter Amada, Jeff Johns, Toby Emmerich, the whole executive and all the execs behind Warner Brothers said, no, that's never happening. He won the battle in bringing back Henry Cavill, but he lost the battle when it comes to connecting it to the Snyderverse because the company didn't want that to happen. Trying to cut all ties with Zack Snyder. Talking about Zack Snyder Justice League is a cul-de-sac. We'll see how long that stays that way. Because I'm telling you, we are pushing for Restore the Snyderverse, and we're not taking nothing for an answer. And everybody knows pockets are locked. We're not opening up our pockets to these fucking people because why? Because you're not doing what we asked you to do. Superman and Lewis. They shut this down for Gunn's Superman. So they could have continuity with Gunn's universe. A serious take on Superman. Started off funny, but you remember Tyler Hoechlin's Superman was introduced in Supergirl, right? This was one of the better CW movies out, TV series out there. Okay, started off a little clunky, but once it got going, it really was good stuff, right? Look at the downgrade, man. Both are behind the scenes photos, by the way. The cinematography, the suit. This is Superman. And they have to use lighting and all kinds of things to get him in the suit. And this is not a bad photo, by the way. It looks okay. It's not bad. But they have to use lighting and all kinds of things to cover up the suit and how it looks. And this just looks awful. I don't know what they're trying to do there. I think they're trying to make him look like he's flying upwards. It looks horrible. Okay? As a lot of people said, this guy here, David Cornsweet, He's big, he's strong. You could see that. But it's going to be tough. It's a tough ask to get this guy to be. What they're going for is emotionally, they want him to connect with children. Emotionally, they want him to have, that emotional connection. But boy, it's gonna be an uphill climb. I'm just saying right now. It's gonna be an uphill climb. Just simply gonna be an uphill climb. This is Henry Cavill as Superman. And I'm telling you right now, this guy embodied Superman. It's just what it is. All right, he just embodied Superman, and in such a way that we had never seen on screen before. Superman of the comic book movies, we saw him in Henry Cavill's Superman. We saw bits and pieces of Christopher Reeve as well, like just there, that moment right there. But for the most part, we saw more of Superman as you know him from the comic books. Much more serious take on him, like in the comic books. Right? Hold on a second. Oh, Jurassic World looks like it's going to be crazy. Mr. Wes Ashley, he said, I love Superman, just not James Gunn's Superman. Funny guys. He's a funny dude. I'm gonna say this. The studio has been the problem. You know? Hope says, a wise person once said, pick any scene from James Gunn's movie and the characters will be just shouting at each other. Well, Guardians of the Galaxy, what do you expect? This is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy using DC characters. James Gunn has only done one successful movie in his entire career, Guardians of the Galaxy. Directed, that is. So what do you expect? It's going to be Guardians of the Galaxy for everything.
That what should be what?
I should be against your vows.
That what? That what should be what?
Big John says, imagine an action scene of Superman versus like 1,000 parademons. We'll get there. It'll just take time. This is David Cornsweat here.
I gotta get back to the fray.
You must rest.
No can do, I gotta get back to the fray.
You must rest.
No can do, I gotta get back to the fray. General, that craft maxes out 17,000 pounds. We can drop it from a C-17. It's a viable plan. And if I don't stop that machine over the Indian Ocean, the gravity field will continue to expand.
If that thing is making Earth more like Krypton, won't you be weaker around it?
Maybe. I'm not about to let that stop me from trying. You might want to step back a little bit.
So you can see the difference in quality and everything, right? Here we have Superman getting, I believe, knocked into a ballpark by Mr. Terrific. And then we have Superman here fighting Doomsday. I remember the amount of flack people gave. Doomsday is like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. He's like one of those Lord of the Ring trolls. It was crazy the kind of flack they gave BVS. But in no way, shape, or form is the CGI and cinematography as inferior as we see in James Gunn's Superman movie. I mean, watch for yourself. You can see both things compared to each other, and I mean, look at Superman. Look how long his leg is. Like, the CGI is just terrible. This is awful. And Austin saying it here also. And there's so many people don't realize how much Snyder fans there are out there. See, the studio is not very smart. Now, I've seen this thing start over a couple times. The stream, it started over 6 or 7 times. Something is wrong with YouTube. They're stopping me from doing my stream, and it's okay. It's cool. I know what I'll do about that. But yeah, we've seen time and time again that Zack Snyder's just being vindicated, and he's going to be vindicated again. Here's some very important things that need to be said. This was in the Hollywood Reporter. Yet one longtime financier says the 365 million figure isn't incorrect, and sources say DC and its parent could spend as much as 200 million on the global marketing campaign compared with the usual 150 million for an all-audience summer tentpole. It wouldn't be a surprise since Superman kicks off the Gunn era and needs to work at the box office. Either way, between the production budget and marketing, it's certain to land in the $400 million club. And I'm just saying this right now for the record, that this movie needs to clear $900 million to break even. Okay, I did the math. And it's not 700 million. It's not 800 million. It's $900 million. In fact, it has to clear $906 million to break even. And I used a simple formula, which is the budget times 2.5, and you get the figure. Okay. And that's no small, tall order for a film that's kicking off supposedly a new universe. That's ridiculous. So even if this film was to make 500 and something million dollars, which some people are estimating it would make, it's not going to break even by a long shot. This film's about to lose the studio a lot of money. A lot of money. Probably the most amount of money since The Flash. And I think The Flash was the one that lost the studio the most amount of money. So this is about to lose the studio even more money. And so I'm not debating that this thing will flop. I know it's going to flop. I'm not questioning that. I'm not questioning whether this film, is going to do well at the box office. I know it's not going to do well at the box office. So this is not what I'm talking about. I am talking about what brought us here and the systemic problem within DC, within the Warner Brothers studio. That's what I'm speaking about. Because we already know this film's dead in the water. The whole idea of the DCU is a dead concept. They like to say, oh, the Snyderverse is dead. Nobody's talking about the DCU like they talk about the Snyderverse. No one. And the reason why the Snyderverse is going to come back and be alive and do well is because it's the management of this horrendous management of DC is going to end one way or the other. And therefore, after that ends, we get a chance to get what we want. And it's just a couple days away from ending. All James Gunn's ideas about the DCU, they're not going to come to fruition because Superman movie's not going to make money. Period. Okay? You cannot have the studio make such poor decisions. This is the worst. I mean, like I said before, You could have gotten your family-oriented movies, Warner Brothers, and it would have been very simple. All you would have had to do was finish the Snyderverse, let it come to its ultimate conclusion with Justice League 3 or Flashpoint Paradox or whatever was supposed to end it, and you would have already started your new universe. And the goodwill and the confidence in your studio would have allowed people to go at least see that first movie in the universe, and you would have made profit off of it. The way how you handled things with DC was so bad. You allowed 8 straight fucking flops to happen. You totally demolished the DC brand. Nobody has confidence in the DC brand. And then after that, now you want to reboot and do what? Unless Superman is this outstanding movie nobody's ever seen the likes of, it's going to flop. And even if nobody's seen the likes of it, I don't expect it. I can expect a modest box office, maybe $400, $500 million. And that's not going to clear anything. So this movie is destined to flop. It's a flop already. We're just going through the motions.
I am prefacing what I'm about to tell you because I'm almost...
Woo! Free Palestine. I want to go into this. But I have to be careful because time is against me and I need to go do 2 more things before I get out of here. And it calls for me to leave, go to a supermarket, come back, shoot a video, and then leave. So I have to really speed up. Let me explain to you what I think is happening with Free Palestine. The same strategy that Israel has employed, a siege on Gaza, is not something unique. They're trying to do a siege on Iran. And by the way, Israel and American policy are the same. No matter what Donald Trump does or says, don't believe it. It's all coming down to American policy. And the way how this goes is they do a siege on you. They do a propaganda campaign on you and to the world. And then they try to invade and conquer you. But they need to weaken you first. It's the same strategy they're doing with China. They're trying to surround China. And then they're doing the same with Russia. They're trying to surround Russia and feed separatist and proxy forces to attack Russia, to attack China, to attack Iran. This is what they've been trying to do for the longest while. The thing that people are not talking about, the regional players, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Jordan, and Egypt, they're all in on this. And these are enemies to the people. What I'm trying to show you is what's happening in Israel with Gaza and with the West Bank and with East Jerusalem and with Palestine is exactly the same process that this Western empire is using to do the same against Russia, the same against China, the same against Iran. Okay, the same thing they did with Iraq, the same thing they did with Libya. They take these proxy forces, all of these what we call mercenaries, which is what ISIS is, and they take factions of them and they infiltrate, and then they don't need to be the majority. They just need to, as the Masonic saying goes, order through chaos. So they need to create chaos. They need to destabilize these countries. Once they destabilize the country, then they can invade and attack. So that's what they do. They do these surgical missions to take out the heads of the countries. And then after that, they try to keep the countries constantly in war and destabilized. It's what they do to Sudan. This is what they're doing to Somalia. They got proxy forces that go, same guerrilla warfare, ISIS people. They went into Rwanda, did the same thing. They're going now into Congo. They're doing the same thing. They have these same proxy forces that are trying to invade the Sullivan areas. That'll be Niger, Mali, and also Burkina Faso. Now, I'm going to tell you something. A lot of what they're doing as well is an act of desperation. When you have to go to when they have to go to mercenaries and these kinds of people, it's because they're desperate. You see them also carrying out these same actions with ICE. ICE is like a proxy of Israel, and they're carrying out what Israel's doing, trying to make people disappear. They're unliving people. They're killing people on American soil. A lot of people that are disappearing were supposed to be deported. They're not being deported. They're being contained in concentration camps where their rights and freedoms are taken away. The lawyers track them down. The people track them down. Major news media outlets are not covering this because they are complicit in Western. This this attack on the Palestinian people right now has immense support by all of the diplomats and dignitaries and leaders of different parts of the world. That's why in my country, I don't hear enough about what's happening in Palestine because our leaders are also complicit in my country. Okay? They're selling out all our resources to the United States. They bow the knee to the United States. Even though our first prime minister, who was also the Secretary General of the United Nations, wasn't bowing the knee, told U.S. troops to leave Trinidad and Tobago. They're here as CIA and operatives, and they basically advise our governments what to do and what they cannot do. And they're taking all the resources and they use our stuff. All right. And I'm saying this to say to you that this is how this fucking empire behaves. But this is how they really are. And so what we're seeing is the true colors of the United States, how they're trying to kick out immigrants, kick out Mexican people who are their neighbors. They're trying to take new territory, talking about taking Greenland. They're talking about as if China's an enemy and if they're trying to be hegemony and if they're trying to take over the region. Meanwhile, they're trying to do that. And they're stretching themselves thin. And you see that a lot of Israeli recruits now are not fighting this war anymore. So Israel's lost support from its major troops of the IDF. A lot of people are not going into battle. There's a big resistance building up against Israel as they try to do mass genocide. And I say the Israeli government, basically Netanyahu, this wicked evil man who probably will die someday of a heart attack. But he's definitely, if he doesn't, he's going to end up in The Hague. But as I said before, we're coming for them. The people now aren't putting up with bullshit anymore. A lot of these sold out governments, whether it's Jordan, Egypt, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and UAE, the people of the country are against their governments. And I'm telling you, it ain't going to take much for them to overthrow those governments. Those governments are going to have to run out of those countries. And what's happening in Syria with ISIS that's running Syria right now, giving full access to Israel and American troops and Turkey, I'm telling you right now, there's going to be a revolution and they're going to overthrow ISIS. The people have tolerated enough bullshit. They've been lied to for too long. And Western hegemony over the world, that's collapsing as refugees and people who come into their countries, the population distribution is changing. And as the United States tries to dump out people, immigrants, which make the country great, out of the United States, and they target different people and they try to punish them and so on, it's only going to start even a bigger pushback because I'm telling you right now, people are fed up talking about this shit and people are going to take action. They're going to do it by any fucking means necessary. All right? They're going to do it by any fucking means necessary. And I'm telling you right now, these people have no idea what's about to hit them. They have no idea the blowback. And trying to pivot, and Piers Morgan's trying to pivot, all the news agencies are trying to pivot now. Nah, you was fucking complicit in this shit. And we're not going to forget, and we're not going to forgive, and we're coming for each and every one of you who was behind this shit. We're coming for you. Oh, it's going to be epic. All right? It's going to be epic. You think World War III is going to be with nuclear weapons? No. No. World War III is going to be the people versus their governments. Watch. It's coming. And we're going to bring the thunder on your ass. So you can't fool us and you can't trick us anymore. We're coming for you. I said it and I mean it. And it's the spirit of the people. They're coming for you. Nothing's going to stop them. Because they realize you lie, you lie, you lie, you lie to keep a certain order in place. I don't care how trained you are. We have sheer fucking numbers. And those of us who get arrested and put into concentration camps and stuff, we're going to be laughing all the way to the back. You know why? You know why we're going to laugh at you? And we're going to laugh at you. We'll mock you. You could torture us. You could do whatever you want. We're going to mock you because you can't stop what's coming for you. You can't stop us. We're 4 billion strong and growing. Probably close to 5 billion now. Because you have shown us your hideous hand, your demonic hand. We're coming for you. And whether it's the United Nations, whether it's The Hague, wherever it be, we're going to try you for all the crimes you've done. Not one of you is going to escape. And you could try and decapitate, you could try and attack individual citizens. It's not going to stop us from coming for you. The reckoning is very close. Just like how the reckoning for DC is very close and Warner Brothers Pictures. We're not going to stop until we get you. We're coming for you. And there's nothing you can do. You can flip-flop. We don't give a fuck because we haven't forgotten. We haven't forgotten shit. We're coming for you. That's all I got to say for now. You guys have a good one. Peace.